Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Hope you're having a beautiful, beautiful day. It's been a while since we have been on the air. There's been as always, there's lots going on, lots of planetary shifting, lots of awakening experiences happening. So I wanted to get back on a schedule, get back on the air. I was going to do a show yesterday. And I had been doing a lot of deep channeling work in the morning, and when it came time to do the show, I still had that higher frequency in me, so I recorded the show, and it was all sketchy. So I wasn't able to put that one live on the air. And I thought it was kind of interesting. I was getting the message to pre-record it, and I did pre-record it, and that's why. So always interesting to listen to that deeper intuition. This time with the show, I did listen because I always do like to do the shows live. So this is a pre-recorded show because we're just going to see how this goes today. So if you just tuned into the Read broadcast, this is Sacred Shamanic Pathways, and I'm Eddie Mullins. So we talk about really living the shamanic way of life and talking about the energy and what's happening right now. There's lots going on. Just headed into May, so happy May to everyone. Lots of ascension energy coming in this month. And we've been feeling ascension energy a little bit more and a little bit more. And last month there was a lot of deep ascension energy, more expansion about completing timelines that perhaps are, obviously they're complete, but it's the most important ones that may be getting in the way of expansion for you and furthering your ascension level. So in this month, and I'm going to do a separate podcast down the road just a little bit, probably next week at some point, about the May energy and the ascension level of it. But we'll feel a sharper ascension energy in this month of May. And it's really more about the streamlines. So in April, we cleared a lot of open space as those timelines completed. And we'll continue to complete timelines. But we opened a lot of space. And hopefully you created a bigger space in terms of that deeper level. So then in this month, we'll be receiving lots of what I call wisdom streamlines that create that bigger process, bigger awareness of what's perhaps in simplistically what's coming next and what that awakening experience looks like for you wherever you are in your journey. So that's what will be part of what's happening in this month. And of course, there's always a lot of planetary energy going on. So energy again in May can be very different, a little bit more smoother, but here on out, it's very intense, but intense in a good way. That way we're looking at bigger awarenesses, going deeper into what we need to clear. And most importantly, it's just important when you do get these aha moments or something and that's what May is going to be a lot about too, is the most important things that you've been avoiding to really address or look at. Ascension energy works very much like sacred plant medicine when we're using sacred medicine or sacred plants as a teacher, because sacred plants are teachers. It goes after the most important stuff that is really the major block, if you will. I don't always like to use that word block, but what's coming into your experience, because that's very important. So you may notice some of that happening in May. There's something or a few things perhaps, that you're avoiding. It's something that you need to take care of. It will really address that and give you lots of wisdom for that. And usually that's in corporation with a huge timeline that's completing. And timelines are always about what humans call belief systems. They're old belief systems that perhaps are in your family, in your ancestral lines, and there's just a lot incorporated with that. So today I wanted to talk about looking at, we're going through lots of changes, and we're going through lots of different activations. And people have been talking a lot about their lungs, and it's been in in this part of the country, this part of the world, I should say, going through winter and just kind of been tough with the lungs. But people all over the world have been expressing questions about their lungs, and we've been going through that for a while, but we're getting into the depth of it, is your lungs are activating. So I want to talk a little bit about that with incorporation with your heart. So lots of expansion going on there, and then, other organs are also activating, because ultimately as we travel more the space that we live in, the human civilization and everything that is incorporated with that, is our organs and our body will start to function in a different way, because we'll be in a higher dimension, higher frequency. So you may notice you're going through a lot of cellular clearing with your lungs, or not your lungs, but your organs, which will be included with that. And you may notice that's a deep clearing, because they have to be deeply cleared before they can what we would say is restructure, so to speak. So a lot of the we have been focused on in terms of awakening, in terms of when we incarnate to the planet, if you will, there's a process that we go through when we go into a deeper awakening and looking at lessons and all of that. And many of those items that we're so used to and are been with us for so long, we won't be doing those anymore. They're going to be complete. So, I hear people, and people are feeling that, because I hear people talking about, mainly on social media, about just different spiritual alignments for awakening, like karma and soul contracts and many of the other items that we're so used to connecting to. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on that for this particular podcast, but a lot of those are now complete. And you may see a little streamline of them coming in where you'll have to address it a little bit, but for the most part, we're not doing that anymore. And there are many of them. And so we always have to remember, as we evolve as a planet, meaning the space we live in, because the Earth itself is highly, highly evolved. But the space we live in, we control that. So human beings sometimes forget that the planet, the space we encompass, continues to evolve. And so as it evolves, we also need to evolve. So that space doesn't stop evolving, it's human beings stop evolving. So we always have to remember we have to continually take care of our own experiences and evolve from that. And we do the best of our ability of where we are, and we just keep moving with that. And, everyone's in a very different space, and we're all linked to each other, including the plants and the trees and the water and everything. And so we evolve together, but it's important to keep evolving. And so that's why sometimes we forget that certain alignments just complete. They collapse, and we don't need to do that. Soon the third dimension will be collapsing, because we're done with that. It doesn't mean if you're in the third dimension that that's going to harm you. It'll feel a lot heavier, but it's just where you need to be. So usually when you first wake up, that's where you are. And people are moving through the dimensions a lot quicker. So it's just kind of important to pay attention. There's a lot of deep wisdom coming forward and very expansive. That's what ascension energy is. It's very, very expansive and deep, deep wisdom. So things move a little slower in ascension because the energy or the frequency of wisdom is so deep. So just pay attention to that. So a lot of wisdom coming in for individuals as a collective in terms of what we are connected to. And most people are really, really feeling that. And it just depends on where you're at and how you connect to that. So as I start again, all this information just kind of flies in as I turn on my microphone. But I wanted to talk again about the couple of the organs that are activating in our bodies and what they're aligned to and all of that. And then I want to talk about the death process. And I'm speaking of the energetic death process because the space we encompass is really in that. So that's why it seems all over the place, all over the world. Things don't really make sense. And so we could really authentically call that a dark night of the soul. So you can see things are completing, timelines are completing, so it seems kind of chaotic, like nothing really makes sense, and that's one of the primary definitions of dark night of the soul. So I want to speak a little bit about that. I just went through a major death process myself, energetic death process. So I've had to take some time away and just kind of do some of my basics, working with clients and teaching some classes, and pretty much do nothing else. So I'll speak a little bit about that when we get to the death process and what that really means. And then also spirit animal, Jaguar. We're going to talk about the Jaguar in terms of how it is connected to the four directions. In the four directions, which we'll be speaking about the direction of the West, and which is really, really important. So it's always, important, and I'm seeing a lot of blogs and documentaries on how we are all interconnected. So it's important to remember that everything that exists in the four directions is in relations with each other, is related to each other. And that includes, as I just mentioned a few moments ago, it's all of nature and the animals and the trees and the water and all human beings. So everything is interconnected. And it's interesting that they're doing a lot of scientific work around that and how far back it goes and how deep it is. So you can see that we're really, really evolving, because a lot of the, this is part of what I do, is the metaphysical, spiritual connection. Is science is more on that side of it than it ever has been. So a lot of things have been scientifically proven. Many of the things that we've connected to for centuries and lifetime after lifetime, it's been proven, from the energy field to the chakras and you name it. So a lot of that is being very much proven and kept a little bit on the quiet side, but it's actually been scientifically been proven. All right, so let's start out with a little grounding and centering meditation. So let's go ahead and just take a nice deep breath. If you're not able to do this, you can catch this anytime on the replay, the archive replay, as well as all of the shows that I do through my website at eddiemullins.com. So again, taking that nice deep cleansing breath, and gently close your eyes as you do that. And as you take each breath, just slow it down a little bit more. Allow your body to relax. Let go of your day, anything that happened this morning, anything that's happening in this evening, and everything in between, and just be very present to this moment. And just let your body expand, let your feet connect to the earth, and just let your breath guide you into expansion and letting go. And you may feel there's a piece of you or large connection to some situation that you just simply need to let go. So if in your willingness, simply take the breath and surrender whatever that is that's holding you down a bit or has you in fear or worry or some concerns, and be willing to just hand that off through your breath. Hand it off to spirit. Hand it off to your guides, your animal guides. And just allow your body to relax into your breath. And we're just going to bring the attention to the heart and the lungs. And just take a nice deep breath and just let that breath be pronounced through your body, and then gently release out. And just first settle into your heart. And drop into the inside of your heart. And just feel that deep expansion of the heart. Just feel that energetic connection deep, deep within the heart. So just let the compassion, the authentic love consciousness within your heart just expand all the way through your body. From the top of your head all the way down to your feet. And just feel the connection. And perhaps you just want to follow that energy out of your heart. And again, our heart has an energy field around it too. Just like our body has an energy field. Interconnected, but they are a separate field. And just feel that beautiful energy field around your heart. And just let that radiate through your body, bringing you back to your healing state, your natural healing state. And just allowing yourself to be very, very present to this moment. and just connecting to the love and harmony of everything is possible, or new possibilities for you in your life. Because as we know, we're here for humanity, to supply love consciousness into humanity. So just feel the depth of that as you take your breath. Again, healing your body, raising your vibration, allowing yourself to be centered, being very centered in the body, which we should always be, but using yourself to, or using your breath to center through your heart. Because then we always use those intentions of our beautiful heart, your beautiful heart, the collective beautiful heart, helping you to remember who you are in this time sequence that we are in, and we are traveling through this journey together. Again, if there's anything that you're feeling that you need to let go of, just simply take a breath and release it and let it go. And just take a moment to go a little bit deeper into your heart, to that space of deep stillness, and just notice what that feels like. And then start to bring that frequency all the way through your body, from the top of your head to your feet. Bringing the frequency dimension of stillness throughout your body. And we take a nice deep breath here. Breathing all the way through the body. Again, connecting the energy to the earth as a centering modality. Feeling the sensation, the cooling of nature of the earth. Feeling the connection and support and love of Gaia surrounding you. And we just ask the Earth Mother to help us in being clear within our intentions, within our support as we travel the earth. Take a big breath here and gently release out. Coming back into this time, this space, this reality. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes. All right. So you may want to drink some water after that brief clearing and just setting a open heart intention and connecting with Gaia and, of course, the earth connection, finding that space of center. And any messages perhaps that came in, you might want to write those down, because sometimes we just forget right away. We tend to do that. So as I mentioned, lots of activation going on in the body. Now, the lungs are really about expansion. And the lungs are always really interesting, and I'm always fascinated on the frequency and the wisdom that is coming forward through the organs when I'm working with people, and as I listen to their organs and the tones and the frequencies that they make, and if they're out of rhythm or whatever that might be with what we're working on. But I always find it fascinating to the wisdom and the deep clarity that comes through all of our organs, because they all hold deep wisdom, and our body is very, very intelligent. A lot of times we don't give it credit for what it knows and what it's connected to. But the lungs are first and foremost about expansion. And as we go, and that can mean a lot of different things, as it should. But as we go deeper into the frequency of expansion with the lungs, what this particular activation is about for many people who are experiencing that is this is a time of independence for your life. And we started to see some of this coming in right around 2009, 2010, where there was a lot of independence, particularly for women really having to put themselves at the front of the line and really look at independence. This is a time for all human beings and all creation through the lungs, is the expansion of really stepping into who you are. No longer, I call that playing a part. There is many different explanations for that. But this is about understanding truly what you want to put out into the world through humanity. This is your heart connection. This is coming from the wisdom of your soul. And this is when we start to shift and look at things. We look at things in a very different perspective, but this is perhaps something that you've been getting the nudge about probably since you were a child or since you became consciously aware. And this is about really living that out and not just having it as something sitting on the shelf, so to speak, or something kind of in the back and not being focused on. And so that changes the energy in the lungs because that is completely connected to the lungs. The lungs are really about living fully in your life experience, in your spirit creation, and really finding balance with that. So these are usually items that really represent who you are, not from a human level, but from your soul level. And oftentimes this is the starting process of destiny. And I can feel this energy coming through. I can feel that building. My lungs have been activating for several weeks now. I can feel that more. And so you may feel that expansion and just really looking at that. So it's a matter of just going through it, but in your meditation, in your journeys, in your dream journeys, whatever it is that you do, your prayers, whatever it is, really bring that energy that's coming forward in whatever that modality is into your lungs and let your lungs expand, because that'll give you more wisdom in what you're trying to put out in the world, and perhaps it's more than one thing. For most people it is. And so just know that that's kind of a regular kind of awareness. Now, if this feels physically heavy and something feels, then you want to get that checked out, of course. And so as you go through a lung activation, you'll feel your heart also activating. Heart is always activating at certain points, but the sacred space in the heart, which is the very center core of the heart, the diamond frequency, that is also going through another activation. And some people are just going through that for the first time, so that can feel a little bit, because it has to go through a clearing first. So it can make the heart feel a little bit off balance. And a lot of people aren't familiar with the back of the heart. That's where you want to work with the heart, because that's usually the back of the heart is where the heart feels heaviest, because most people don't work with the back of the heart. They work with the front of the heart. So it's important as you go through this activation, your lungs and your heart will activate at the same time, and they will work together, because it's pretty much the primary same thing with the lungs, except the heart, the sacred space, is the first part of creation. And I have a course that's going to be coming up on that, a 2-part course on the activation of the heart through the sacred space and through the diamond dimension, which is the deeper alignment of the heart. So that activation piece, many people are aware of the sacred space of the heart. I've taught myself several classes on that. But this is now more of the time of it activating. So we really see that heart connection with life force. So a lot of life force frequency, and we want to use life force as the balancing. So one of the things that I do is when I'm listening to someone's organs, when there's perhaps an issue or we run into something, is I'm looking at the rhythm and how parallel it is to life force energy. And of course, there's other things that I compare it to as well. And so then that's where we can really see that something is off balance, and it usually has to do with something that happened previous in the future, or not in the future, in the past rather, to really look deeper at those experiences so it comes into balance, and then we can really flow into our natural rhythm. And that's why we lose track with natural healing, is because our rhythms are off in our body and our energy field. So there's ways that we can, adjust that and really get to the flow of what that is. So the lungs and the heart will be activating together, and that's really powerful energy. It really charges the field around the heart, and you'll start to feel that. So it builds a lot of heat. So if you're connected to heat, I'm certainly connected to that because of my sign, but you'll feel that heat resonating in your body. So as we move closer to ascension, and you yourself in your journey moves closer to healing, you'll feel a lot more to ascension rather, you'll feel a lot more heat building in that experience. So it just changes a lot. So my new podcast that I have coming up, a series, which will probably be starting in a couple weeks, will be a lot more about ascension and working through the soul and really looking at the body alignments with shamanic wisdom and love consciousness and all of that. So just kind of notice that. Also, too, or additional organs that are really in high activation right now are the liver and the kidneys, and you may be noticing them and feeling them a lot more than you have in the past. The liver is a lot about held anger. So those two particular organs are connected right now to cellular clearing, deep cellular clearing. And so, again, the liver is very much connected to, it has a lot of meaning. But the main thing that it's clearing out right now is deep held anger. So you want to look at what's showing up. Where are you angry in your life, or where are you avoiding to get angry in your life? That's a big one, because then we're holding it in. So that's a big experience. I'm going to come back and talk about that point in just a minute. And then the kidneys are a lot about fear mainly, but there's also that sadness and worry that gets locked inside the kidneys. Now, the kidneys, pay attention to what side it's on, because that'll tell you. A lot of people talking about the left side, because the feminine in all of us is activating as well. It has been for a few years now, but it's really getting to the depth as we step more into that frequency. So one of the things that's really important is when we look at, let's just say, or we've been talking about organs and what they're aligned to, and we talk to about emotions, and we have more of that coming up on this podcast too. It's really important, we see a lot of these books and workshops and you name it out there about be happy, be happy, be happy, be happy. And that's so important. It's so important to be happy, and you deserve to be happy. But let's remember that just being happy is unhealthy. We have to move full circle with all of our emotions. And sometimes you will have to stay with an emotion for a while. Maybe that is sadness. Maybe that is fear. There's something inside of that that's coming forward. There's something that's transitioning. Now, do we want to stay in it for 14 years? Absolutely not. That's unhealthy. But we want to allow ourselves to have days where we feel sad or fearful or angry, as long as it's moving through and not anchoring. So when it anchors, it means it's physically present and it's in that experience. And sometimes it will last for 2 or 3 days, because you're clearing something or you're working through something. So it's very important, especially in this time, if you have those bursts of anger, or you have those bursts of fear that feel a little bit off, like where is this coming from? That usually means it's leaving. It's sparking a new awakening in your body with love. It's replacing it with love, but it just kind of flares up before it makes its final entrance of leaving. So just notice that, and you'll feel different kind of pockets in your body kind of flaring up with electrical current and things like that. I've been experiencing a lot of that for about a year now, but more so in a year now. But as we get closer to this feeling intense ascension energy, we'll just feel that more, because we're getting into that. So we're feeling it on the earth, so it's a little bit different. It's all the same, but when we feel it on the earth versus when we feel it in our bodies when we're transitioning into the light body, you'll feel complete ascension moving through your body. And it's just a lot of heat, a lot of frequency, a lot of expansion. Doesn't mean everything's easy. You'll still have little charges of things awakening from time to time, but it's a little bit different, and you'll feel that, and you'll feel more of that charge, even just feeling it as it comes into the planet. Especially in this month, it's going to be pretty intense. So that's a little bit about the organs and activation. You'll find that with all of your organs and all of those types of energies and frequencies as they begin to activate. Briefly about the death process, I like to talk about this from time to time, and again, we're talking about energetic death process, because we don't, even when it is time to cross, we don't die. Our humanness dies, our physical part dies, and then we transition. But here we're talking about energetic death process. So we're doing that on the planet right now. And we go through many of these. I've been through several of them. I don't know how many weeks ago this was now, because I'm really bad with time right now. I just can't comprehend time, and I'm missing time, and it's quite interesting from what's happening with me. But so the death process that I went through, I would say this is probably the second most intense one. So this left me pretty much on my back for about three and a half weeks. And so the experience that I had with this, and really what energetic death process means, is there's an old piece of you. Sometimes they're just small, and sometimes it's a large piece of the way you've been doing things, or the experience that you were supposed to have on Earth is now complete. And then you go on to this other level. And so usually this will happen as you transition into another level of your either awakening or transitioning into the light body. And then when you activate another part of your energy body, which is what the light body is, several of our bodies that we incorporate in terms of our creation, but it's a large piece that just leaves. And everybody deals with it in a little bit different way. And if I were to, when I looked at this as on a physical level, I had all the symptoms, of course. I had the cold in general. I had a head cold. I had a ear infection. I had a sinus infection. I had an allergy, almost like an allergy attack somewhat. And, there was a few other things too going on. And so it was more about just letting it run its course. I knew it was a death process. And so I didn't get caught up in, I have a cold, I have so because my ear was plugged, I'd go somewhere and try to talk to someone, and I couldn't hear what they were saying on the left side. Everything was on the left side, of course. And so we just worked through that. And what I always have felt with these big ones, and again, everybody deals with this differently, it's when it is complete, that's when we feel like we don't quite recognize ourselves anymore, because that big piece is left. And these are usually with bigger energetic death processes, and everything is completely different. So in this time when I was going through the physical part, being sick, if you will, from that, which is deep clearing and letting go, is I just focused on creating, as it was completing and dying, the energy, I was underneath it creating bigger space, because I want bigger space. When it leaves, we don't want the same space. And so a lot of review was coming in, a lot of timelines during that time. I was having, amazing dreams, and which are just great, showing you, future, past, in between, and moving through that. And then we're doing that in this time now. You don't have to be going through a death process to have that experience. So it's just about creating more of that open space, and then it just takes as long as it takes to acclimate. Now, for me, this was another part of my light body. And so the way that I used to do things, I had to learn how to do them in a different way. And so this type of death process affects every piece of your life. And so it just brought me to another level where I have to go, we have to redesign or look at things, recreate, which is already present. We have already agreed to it in some ways. So it just is very different. One of the major things that usually has always happened to me is when I get something, it's time for change, or something new is coming in, it used to come really quick, and boom, here it is. And then I could just, okay, boom, here we go. We acclimate it, we get it in process, we go, whether that's something personally or whether I'm doing something professional with my business, boom, there it is, and it's up and running. Well, with this, and this is part of the alignment with Ascension too, so you may be experiencing this as well, is it just takes its own time. And that's the part of Ascension energy. It moves really slow because the wisdom depth is really, really deep and expansive. So I had to really let that process, because one day it would be like, okay, well, I understand what this is. I understand what's coming in next. Next day, clueless. So it's just more of that process and more of a deep level of building in this time with death process for everyone. It is, I shouldn't say everyone, it just depends where you're at. If you're in fourth, fifth dimension, you're going to start to feel your own universe being developed within your creation, your body. And that's where we connect to dimensions. We don't have to go, the dimensions aren't out there, they're within. And so we're having our own universe. And so that's why we have a lot of, sometimes really, really a lot of intense heat. So that solar sun is being created within you. And so you're feeling those strong activations and very, very powerful. So that death process is just really that old way. It can be an old way that's completing. When you're letting go of something, those are usually smaller death processes. But when we get ready to expand, or we're moving to a new experience that's coming forward in its time, is we're creating space for it. And this old piece, before we can really bring that in, this old piece, which is not always a bad thing. It's run its course. You received what you need to receive from it. This always happens with initiation. When I've gone through initiations, boom, that's part of initiation. The old is out, and you're realizing this new experience, this new embodiment, and then it activates once you really understand how it is just a part of your life now. So we want to create more of a bigger space, and this is sometimes why when people let go of physical situations, they're thankful and grateful that situation is gone, but then they attract the same thing back because it looks different, but it's the same thing because they didn't create enough space for it. We got to open up that space, and this is where we have to go deep. We can no longer do things at the surface. We really never could. And this is where going deep, and you only go deep when you're ready. Being on the surface is oftentimes still human aspect, where we want to be safe. So really working through those experiences. So that's a little bit about the death process. I think it's quite fascinating to look at, and I'll be writing about that more and talking about it a little bit more on other podcasts, because a lot of people are going through that. And so that's why it can feel like a standstill. And sometimes you do. From my experiences, when I go to another level, or I've released something really big, there's 3 areas that really help me with acclimating the new frequency. One of them is nature. Surprise, surprise there, right? And I just let nature acclimate that energy and provide me with the wisdom, and I just go and embrace myself in the wisdom and just in the energy frequency. And then I go to music, because I'm a songwriter, and I just embrace myself in that, and that really helps me a lot. And the other one is I tend to my bed. I sleep a lot. I do shamanic dream journeys to help me understand what that flow is and whatever spirit needs to connect with me on, and my soul is open to those experiences and whatever the soul needs to encompass in those situations. So you may have different ones in that, but the nature is really the one that when you let go of something or do a deep meditation or a journey, is head out into nature, and that helps you to illuminate those bigger experiences. So that's a little bit, again, about the death process. So just looking and taking time to rest. Rest is really important this time because things are on an energetic level, moving more slowly in that capacity. So it's quite powerful in that experience and that way of the experience, so you can really deeply acclimate that. So I want to talk about the Jaguar, which is a very powerful guide for me as an animal guide, and encompassing with the 4 directions. So Jaguar guides us through the direction of the west, which is the west is really about processing our deep emotions related to past patterns or conditions or any type of resource that is really set forward for us. And those are the things we want to move away from, because we tend to have identity with them, and they're really not us, and that's not very deep. So Jaguar helps us to move through this emotional process. Whatever it is, it's going to be different for everyone. with every experience. But it helps us to really walk through the emotions in the west direction and walking through old programming and conditions, but most importantly, walking through the shadow and perhaps seeing what is deactivated, in dormant, if you will, that needs to be awakened because you need it in this particular time. And these are usually some of the pieces that are missing from us, or there's some pieces that we're hanging on to in shadow level that just need to be complete. So that's what we call shining the light on the shadow so it can be revealed and exposed. So we look at through that process. And Jaguar helps us too, and I had a lot of help with Jaguar during this time of walking beyond death. What does that look like after that death process, energetic death process in this case? What does that look like? What is that experience? What does it feel like? What's the awareness of that? And it's more about not doing the level, but being able to navigate, move through it in all directions. Because as we go forward, we want to get used to feeling our way through something. That's called navigating. So we can't, because we'll receive our wisdom in that way. We'll receive our directions or experience in that way. And how does that feel? How does the energy frequency, what is the wisdom inside of that? Not just the knowledge, but the wisdom inside of that. So Jaguar helps us to move through that and again, helping us to release any genetic or ancestral alignment bloodline patterns that really don't fit into your experience or in this time on the planet. So very powerful in that perspective, but really looking at those patterns, helping you through completing timelines, the emotional impact that they may have on us when we've been connected with them too long. And we are able to flow right through them. And so just really helps us to go deep. Anytime I do deep types of shamanic journeys for myself or being guided from another shaman, Jaguar always comes in and really helps to, either in a shape-shifting point of view or just helping me walk through those experiences and seeing the connection piece through the eyes of the Jaguar and being able to find deeper wisdom inside of that, and also helping with initiation and activation. So very important on that level. And it just helps us, the direction of the north is usually when we're at that point of seeing and walking beyond death is when we're really starting to understand what it means to truly, truly walk the earth. This is one of the big mysteries for a lot of human beings, is they think they know what it means to walk the earth, but until you navigate through the frequency, that's when you truly understand what it means to really be interconnected and walk the earth as an earth walker and a way shower, perhaps. We're all way showers, but we can't be a way shower until we understand what it means to be a way shower and walk those experiences. So that's a little bit about the direction of the West with Jaguar, and the spirit animals are very, very active right now. Master teachers, just helping us through these deeper experiences. All right, so that's what I wanted to talk about today on the podcast. Once again, I want to remind you, if you're interested in getting a private session with me, I do private sessions. I also do have a mentorship program, so if you're ready to take your experience to that next level, it's a 9-week program where you work one-on-one with me on the phone. And I do some of them in person if you're in San Diego area. But mostly I'm working on the phone. And it's a powerful program because it's different for everybody. It's designed for you and what your needs are and what that next level is for you. So it becomes very much about going deep inside of your experience through the 9 weeks. It's kind of like walking up steps, but it's a program that you have to be ready for, because there's some pretty powerful stuff that will come through and some things that we don't kind of connect together. And that's the beautiful part that I like, is when I'm working with a client, is to see them go through that and to see how it changes them. And I always tell people that when they start, by the time they finish, most of the time they don't recognize themselves because so much has happened. And it is a very powerful program. I've had people go through it many, many times. It's not a repeat. If you go through more than once, it's again, going up a bigger level, another level, And it's just amazing to see the results that people get and what comes through for them, and just looking at those experiences, because we have to go deep in this time of really looking at where we want to go. What does our path look like? And just really feeling that deeper experience, so we can really illuminate what it is we're doing here. We all have a mission with humanity, and it really opens up the bigger experience when we do go to the core and deep. And that's what Ascension Energy does. It takes you to the root of your creation, so you can really look at more at destiny versus life purpose. Life purpose is humanly created, and it's impactful, but it doesn't mean what it really means. So I'm going to talk about that on Tuesday. The difference between life purpose and destiny, and just kind of clarify each of those. Some of these language connection pieces we have in metaphysical alignment have been around for so long that they seem like they're universally created, but they're actually humanly created. And they actually get in our way in some ways because they're misdefined, they're misclarified. And so I'll talk about that on Tuesday. I also have a course coming up, Spirit Animal course coming up tomorrow with Spirit Animal Fox, which I'm very excited about. I always love teaching about the spirit animals. And so I still have plenty of room left in that course. And I also have a course coming up on compassion, a 2-part course coming up on working through your own essence of compassion and how that's being revealed through your soul. So we'll have many journeys in there, lots of wisdom that comes forward. So we always have a fun time with those types of courses, and then I'll have many more courses coming up. So once again, you can check out more of my work if you're new to this, listening to this podcast, at eddiemullins.com. And I wish you a beautiful, beautiful rest of the day. And just remember to take time to feel your way through experiences, but most importantly, just take some time to rest. It's not really a time to make big decisions right now, because there's so much more coming in, because it is such a deep, energetic experience right now. So being able to just kind of roll with it and activate those pieces as they come in, meaning take action when you feel that you have that, but take time to clarify that between doing and navigating. And we're really set up more so now to navigate, because we can feel the experience and look at the wisdom. And it's not just movement through that experience of emotion, but it's what's the wisdom that's locked in there when you go through the energy layers, because we're multidimensional beings. So once again, I wish you a beautiful rest of your day, and just take some time to honor who you are and just enjoy this journey. Thank you so much, everybody.
Calling all parents. Get up to 50% off all of Old Navy's amazing kids and baby styles right now. Hurry in for $2 flip-flops, $4 tees and tanks, $6 graphic tees, and $8 dresses and boy shorts at Old Navy and OldNavy.com. High fashion, Old Navy. Valid 5/1 to 5/9.